All right, so here we have Fusion up. Like we mentioned earlier, Fusion is it's kind of it lives on your computer, but it's really homing in the cloud. So anything we do saves it and uploads it to the cloud, which means that you go and sign into Fusion at a different computer, like you set a different computer the next day, it's there. Or you go in, you sign in at home, all of your files are there. You don't have to worry about downloading files and uploading and doing all this other stuff. Keeping it on thumb drive and whatever, it's there. That being said, if it's the cloud, so sometimes things happen. Sometimes things don't sync right. Sometimes you can't sign into the cloud. And if you get something that you really want to keep an archive copy of, you can always download a copy of it. Okay. Have I lost anything in here? No. Do I know people that have lost stuff? Yeah, probably because they didn't wait for it to upload before they closed the computer. And then now it's back with these computers used to reset every time you turn it off. And so they probably didn't wait for it to upload, shut down the computer, and then they came up the next day and the file's gone. So without doing that, I've never had an issue, but you can always resave stuff. So over here at the top, this is the data panel. This shows you your files that you're working on. So there's that file we're going to do. Here's a little thing I made to talk about components and things. But your files are here. You just double click on it, and it opens it up. And when you save it, it automatically adds version numbers. So if I click on this, I can see the 3 different versions of this file that I made. And I can open any one of them. And you can always, if I open this one, and decide, oh wait, I really want to save this one, I can go up and tell it, save it as latest. Or I can say, oh no, I actually do want the current version. I can hit this and get the current version. Okay. So it's kind of keeping track, and when you save it, it'll ask you for a milestone, and that'll give you a little extra definition. It always asks you for a comment. I never add the comments in, but you can if you want. If you close it down, it automatically makes you a new file called Untitled. So that's kind of there. Across the top here, we have this first button is our workspaces. So we're going to be here in the design workspace most of the time. We'll also hit render, and we'll do drawing stuff. They also do have this thing called generative design, where you set some parameters and let it figure out what's in between. So that's where you get those like really organic kind of shapes that are trying to find the best weight per strength stuff. That's this. Animation it's like doing assemblies and showing how things go together. We might talk about that a little bit. Simulation is stress analysis, all kinds of stuff. They have all kinds of different analysis you can do. You can do shape optimization there. You can do injection molding simulation. Static stress is thermal stress. Modal means like vibration. Like see the videos of like the bridge that collapses because it hits the harmony. That's what this is doing. Like cooling for electronics, all kinds of stuff. So we can do all that, and then I can go to the manufacturer. So this is the CNC stuff. And also in the 22 class, we'll go into here and do, because 22 is sheet metal and weldments. And so we'll be able to make sheet metal parts over here. And then if you go to manufacturer, it'll be able to, you'll tell it, I've got these different parts, I've got this material nested in there. Find the best fit of these parts on the sheet of material. And now you can send that out to the plasma cutter, or even just program it, the plasma in here and then send the G code out to the plasma cutter. So that's all in this manufacturer side. But design is where we're going to spend most of our time in here, and in the solid tab. There's also surface modeling we'll talk about in CAD 20 next semester. a little bit. You can do some kind of cool stuff with surfaces. I've never actually done anything work-wise in surfaces, but depending on what you're doing, like if you're doing boat holes and like real complex shapes, you're gonna do some surfaces. Like a lot of like those fancy vases you see on YouTube and stuff, those are all surface stuff. Because it can make some of that stuff easier. But if you're doing just regular parts and stuff, I've never done it. Actually, I did one consulting job where I did something with a surface model. I edited the surface, but he liked the one with just the regular loft command. That was way easier to do better. Meshes is like 3D scanning stuff. That's going to be a mesh. So you won't do that too much in here, but in the 32 class you'll do a little bit, but you're going to use another program that's much better than this. We'll do sheet metal in 22. We'll do a little bit of plastic stuff kind of here and there. You'll notice that it has these commands that have like the little plug next to them. So those are ones that you have to pay extra for. As students, we get them for free. We just have to turn them on. So you just go here, you say access options, and you say, I want to turn on this part design extension, start access. And it turns it on for 30 days. And then 30 days it'll turn it off, and you just turn it back on. So because Fusion is available for hobbyists and for small businesses for free, but they don't have as many things on their projects. They only get 10 projects. So these are projects. We only get 10 projects on that account. And you don't get the plugins. But you can buy the plugins for more. And even Fusion, if you buy the professional version of it, it's like, depending on how you buy it, because they can do a subscription, a monthly subscription, or they can buy it by the year. And usually like one day out of the year, or a couple days, they all have it on sale. And so you can get it for like $30 for the entire year. But I think the normal price is like $300 a year. SolidWorks, you have to buy for like $6,000 and then pay an extra $2,500 a year. But so depending on what commands you want, there's other add-ins. So if you buy all of the add-ins for Fusion, it's still like $2,500 a year. But it's going to do way more than what SolidWorks can do. Because that's all the 5-axis CNC stuff. And I have a former student that just bought a $500,000 5-axis mill with a 60-pool pallet changer. And it's the robo drill with the methods pallet pool. So it has an extra 60 like preload devices. The robot loads, unloads. It's got an extra 40 tools that the robot can load. Awesome. He makes a bunch of little stuff for a big company that starts with an A. Yeah, he makes the stuff for their for their conveyors and that they use inside the factories that constantly breaks. But so he does all that, but he's still not even paying $2,000 a year because he has that 5-axis add-on to it. So you can always just turn this stuff on and try it out. And as students, we get access to all of it. So try it out. Like this command right here is way better than anything they have in SolidWorks once you turn it on. And then we have this little utilities tab that, look, you can send it to 3D print. And so you can hit here, you can save it as a 3D printer, or you can send it to the 3D printing services that'll print it for you and send it back to you. So actually, this is just the download of it. Yeah, it's this one. So if you do this one, I think that's where you can send it out automatically. I think it's also in here somewhere. So Fusion, it needs to constantly be connected to the web because it updates all the time. So it's not like some programs where you get a new version every year or every 2 years. Fusion, sometimes you might get a version every 2 weeks, but at least every 6 weeks there's some kind of an update. And so it wants to stay current. It has to stay current. If there's an update on your computer and you go back to another computer that hasn't updated yet, and you try and open a file that you made on the newer one, it's not going to open. It'll tell you have to wait for it to update. And so it's always current. So sometimes there's small changes. Sometimes they're like, oh, we added all these new commands. So they're going to give you a kind of what's new thing up here. So you all set the latest update. So today they updated it, or I got the update here. I'm gonna hit find out what's new and see what changed. And so they only changed a bunch of stuff. So they did a bunch of little stuff there. So they made it work better on Macs. Oh, they made it work better on the 4K monitors. And stuff. So to change some usability things. So it's good to go through that and see kind of what's changed. And that happens with all these programs. They all change every year. You need to be able to adjust to how it's changed. It's the kind of the good and the bad. So those are kind of the areas of it. So over here we've got the extensions that you can turn on. So these are the different ones. So in these classes we're going to be doing this one and a little bit of this 22. This one I like to just kind of always have on. If you do the cam stuff, then you might want to do these ones, or this one. This one is really for powder metal prints, which we're not doing because we don't have one of those printers. It's just kind of showing that you're online. If you've got stuff that's uploading, notifications, the help panel. So there's some pretty good help here. It doesn't do things the way that I do things. So sometimes they will tell you to do, like the tutorials will tell you to do things that are the opposite of what like stuff I would have said, don't do that. It's because they're software designers doing the software. They're not coming at it from the industry side, like the practical experience. They know the way that they want to do it, and it works if you know exactly what you're doing. But if you're actually doing the process, it's not the best way. And then, so that's kind of here, so the learning panel and all this stuff. So got a bunch of stuff in here. And then you've got your information. So one thing I like to do is go into preferences. And I go to design. And this one right here, auto look at sketch. Uncheck this. I will make a screenshot of this and put it into the page for this, but you want to turn that off because that's going to mess you up. So turn that off. I think that's the main one. Yeah, we'll have to see. I think that's the main one that you need to change. So do that one. You can also go in and change a bunch of other settings. So you can change your default materials or any graphic settings. So based on resolutions, whatever, change your default units, all that stuff. Okay. There's also this preview feature, so some things that are some new that aren't officially turned on automatically, but are here. So actually, so if you wanted to disable the high DPI scaling, you can do that. We have 4K monitors. Your right monitor is 4K and your left monitor is not. So when you move things between monitors, you're going to see they change scale a lot. Sometimes once you land it in that monitor, it'll fix the scaling. But when you've got stuff drag across both monitors, sometimes it'll be like this big. So here's where you can turn on and off experimental stuff. Try it, see how it works. Over here on the left is kind of the list of all the stuff you have in your model. Down at the bottom is your timeline. It's going to keep track of everything you do. Every command you do is going to keep track of. Which also means you can go back in time and edit something that's going to affect everything from that point on. And that's the magic of these programs. That's the parametric part, the history-based part. Is that you can set it up, do a change here, and it affects everything else. So you're like, you do it all, and you're like, oh, I don't want that to be 2, I want it to be 2.5. Go back, you change the number, boom, it's all fixed. And if you've made your model correctly, you've used some relationships, now everything stays centered, and things line up the way they're supposed to, and whatever. So you can make those quick changes, and it works. If you don't do it with good constraints and lining stuff up the way you want it to, then it just blows up. So that's why we wanted to learn the better way to do things, not just the fast way to do it. And a lot of videos on YouTube show you the fast way because it's easy. It's easy to do the fast way. Like, just draw all this stuff and boom, 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 boom. Yeah, but now change that number to 10 and it's going to blow up. Because it's not going to move correctly. It's not going to behave right.
But if you did and you made that change,
it'll all stay right. So there'll be some things we do. Well, I'll tell you to draw it in, and then to test it to see if you did it right, I'm just going to change 2 dimensions on your first sketch. And if everything changes and it stays correct, I know you did it right. I don't have to check every step along the way, because I know, okay, if I change this and it looks like this, you did it right. And so part of that is if we give you a drawing and it has a dimension on it, use that dimension. So if I give you this dimension here, and I say that's going to be 2, and I give you this dimension here, and I tell you that's going to be 3/4, don't put this dimension and do the math. Don't like 1 1/4 for that. Put the dimensions in that we give you. Or if I give you, these dimensions here, don't just put in the 2, put in these 2 that we give you. Because those are the ones that we've determined are important, that we care about. Okay? So use the numbers you're given. That's what I was saying earlier about like the chamfer. If we give you this distance, you can use that command. But if we give you this distance, don't do the math and figure out what that is. Put in what we give you. There are ways to add in equations and stuff, but that's doing more work, right? Also, if we need to do math, we write equations. We don't actually solve the math. So in math, making the equation is the important part, right? Solving the math, these things do really good. That's like half their job is solving math equations. Don't solve the equation yourself, ever. I will not make you do math and like come out with us like add these 2 numbers and come up with this. We're not doing that. We can write the equation, but let the computer solve it. And that way it knows what it's doing. Because 90% of the time people mess up is because they try and do math and they mess up the math. Okay? So you see when I did that? What happened when I added those numbers?
The lines turned black.
Yeah, that line turned black. That means it's getting locked down. So this line right here, I can't move it. This line right here, I can move it. See that? So why do you think I can move that line?
Because you haven't manually set the dimension.
Yeah, because I haven't told it how big to be, right? So you want all your lines to be black before you move on. If you ever leave lines that are still blue, that's not good. They all need to turn black. If they're not all black, it's not right. So even if you draw it, I don't know, and you make it here, and so you're like, I don't know. So here's not going to do it. Like in SolidWorks, it has a real problem because you can click on it and then go over to the side and type in a number and it'll make it that size. But it's not really locked until you put a dimension on it. You have to put a dimension on it and have it change color. And so I can go in here, put it in, boom. You can see as I put in the number, it adjusts the size to match. Okay? So that's the key. Also this is kind of my process, it'll let you put in numbers here as you're drawing it. So you can type in like 2 and tap. Don't do that. It just sounds like, oh, that's the easy way. Especially if like drawing a circle, I can just click it and type in the diameter. Don't do it, please. Because if you start doing it with those things, then as you start doing more complicated things, you start to try and do it that way. And now, as soon as you start adding numbers to things, you start locking it down. We want to make sure the relationship of the things is correct first. That things that are parallel should be parallel. Things that are horizontal should be horizontal. We want those relationships first before we start adding any numbers. And so instead of having like okay, in these situations you can do it this way, and in these situations you can do it this way, I just say, in all situations, draw it first, no numbers. Make sure it works right, and then add dimensions. So yes, it does make it a little bit longer sometimes, like an extra click, like actually, but you know, yeah, it's like one extra click, but that little penalty of, but then not have to remember of, do I have to do it this way this time or this way this time, makes it easier. It stops you from having those mistakes. So I like simplicity, just do it one way all the time, not two different rules, okay? So that's kind of my rules. Just draw it out, draw what you want, and then make it how big you want it to be after it's already being correct. Okay, does that make sense? All right, so I'm gonna do that. I'm gonna hit finish sketch. And so now I have something on the screen and we can talk about the other stuff. So over here, this is the view cube. And so this gives me, I have my home view, which is this view. So I was gonna zoom in at this view. This is called isometric view. So I'm looking at 3 faces. I have vertical lines and I have lines at 30 degrees. So this is kind of a standard pictorial or kind of 3D looking view of things. I can click on these here and go to the top view. So now I'm looking down at it from the top. I can click on the little arrow here, it's gonna flip it forward. I'm gonna click over this arrow here, it's gonna flip it that way. It's just a line because it's a plane. It's a sketch on a plane, and so it's a line. I click here, it goes back to here, okay? And so though, I can click those things to see it. I prefer to draw here in isometric mode, or some variation of this. So if I hold shift and I press the middle wheel, I get to orbit. You can see it also highlighted down here at the bottom. And now I can kind of look around this in different directions. If I just press the middle wheel and drag it, I can do that and we can go back home. Press the middle wheel, drag it around, now I can pan. If I push the wheel away from me, I zoom out. Pull the wheel towards me, I'm zooming in. Okay? And then where you point is where it goes. So if I look here, that point that I have my mouse over stays still. I can put my mouse down here, that stays still. So kind of, you can push your view. So if I go over here and I zoom in, I want to push the view that way. Or if I push the mouse wheel away to zoom out, it's going to pull it towards the mouse cursor. See that? It's pulling it towards the mouse cursor when I zoom out. And when I zoom in, it's kind of going away from the mouse cursor. And so being able to do that, even just that, play with that. See how it's moving around with your mouse. And so that way you can zoom in and out. The worst thing is people that, I mean not the people, but when I see people doing it, they're out this far trying to do little stuff and it's like zoom in, zoom in, zoom in. It should be this big. Don't just click, 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 click. Roll that wheel. Roll it. Like start it back here and roll it. Roll it. The faster you move it, the faster it's going to go. You're not going to take 10 minutes trying to zoom into that little tiny corner right there, and you don't need it there. Move the mouse. Don't be afraid. If you're hesitant with it, practice. Get better at it. This is the skill that's going to make you be better. Being able to navigate this, pan, zoom, knowing which way to go to get it to move which way. Getting back here, orbiting. Being comfortable with this makes everything else easier. So that way I say, click on this corner here, you can go, all right, click. You're not, go straight to it, boom, okay? Just like driving a car. Look where you want to go, move the mouse until you get there. Don't look at your cursor. So don't look at your mouse cursor. Look at where you want to go. Like when you're driving, you don't stare at the steering wheel, do you? If you do, well, I don't want to be behind you. You look where you're going, right? Look where you're going. I know they assume everyone knows how to use a computer, but a lot of people don't. You're watching your mouse cursor, not where you want to go. Be more efficient with it, okay? This is the skill that drives what we do. So, be able to do that. Then over here we have that 3D mouse. So, I am recording this and I have on the video, it's got an overlay of the keyboard and the mouse and the video from the camera. So when you go back and watch the video, you can actually get more than what you're seeing right now, because you can see it's recording this overlay here. So as I move the mouse and type, it captures that on the video. So let me go back here. So on this one, you always want to use it with the cord pointing away from you. I know on some of yours the cord's pointing toward you, that's going to be backwards. Cord pointing away. So if I push it away from me, it's going out. If I pull it towards me, it's going in. So I'm just kind of pushing the forward, the back side of it. If I push it to that way, it goes that way. Push it that way, it goes that way. If I grab the top of it and I rotate it, so tip it forward, tip it back, sideways, then it rolls. It rolls forward, backwards, side to side. If I push straight down, it pans down. Pull straight up, pulls it straight up. And so you can spin around. And I have it set pretty slow right now. So if I go here, I have it set pretty slow. Like this is a full rotation speed. Like I've got it turned all the way right now. This is not how I use it personally. So if I hit the left button on it, I go to properties, you notice that when I hit the left button, other commands came up. So now I can do it straight to extrude or revolve or hole just by dragging in that direction. Go to properties. Right now it's here in the middle. I use it way up here. This is the speed that I go at. If not faster. But I have it slowed way down so you guys can see what I'm doing. Because otherwise, you're like, what do you do? And actually, I will not use it in class a lot of times just so it slows me down. Because it makes me 3 to 5 times faster than doing it without it. So in class, I try and push it away if I'm doing a demo, so I don't use it, just so I can go your speed, or a speed where you can see what I'm doing better. And that way it'll capture the overlay of it. So any questions with that?
No.
There's also down here at the bottom, there are the orbits here. So if you want to do this, now you can just do it here and it stays in the command until you hit escape. Or look at, you can pick a face and it'll look straight at it. This is the one I turned off. I had you turn off. If you want to look straight at something, you can do this. But I turn it off because you start this way and you expect it to turn it this way. Like that, just looking straight at it that way. But sometimes it'll go dink and turn it that way. And you think that this direction is going vertically along the y-axis, when really you're going along the x-axis. So when you turn it back here, now it's facing the wrong direction. And that's why I don't like that. Because now you're like, oh, it's messed up. Like, well, don't do it. Because I like this view when I hit home to look like I'm holding, if I'm gonna have an actual part in my hand, I want to be able to set that part and have it facing the same direction, not the wrong direction. Or if you're drawing something off of a drawing that I've given you on canvas, we want this to be facing the same direction. Because yes, it doesn't matter really, if you draw it facing a different direction, it works. It's the same thing, it doesn't matter. But now you have to now instead of looking at it from this way, you're looking at it this way, right? So you have to spend that extra time, you have to spend that extra time fixing that in your head. Like, okay, which way am I looking at this thing and adjusting? It's better just to draw it the way you get it. It saves you time, it saves you effort, okay? And if you do it and it's the wrong way, sometimes you can fix it easy. Sometimes it's better just to be like, oh no, done, create a new sketch. I want it to go on this side now. And now I want it to go this way. And I did that really fast, and those lines are not straight, right? That's not vertical, it's not parallel. But if I hit this, boom, 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 boom. Now I can grab that corner, and it behaves correctly. It stays locked in, instead of.
How are you unlocking
What?
Double clicking it or something?
Oh, to lock it in?
You unlock it.
Unlock what?
Like, once you have a black line that's black, how do you make it blue again?
Yeah.
You have to delete something. So here, I put here, and now you can see this one's locked in to be horizontal, that one's vertical. If I grab this corner here, it can do that. But if I grab this corner here, it's going to go kind of all over. But yeah, I just unlocked that one because I went here. But you can always grab, you can click on the constraint and just hit delete. And you're very set. Now that line moves up and down. Now I can put that in, lock it back down. So you can always modify stuff. So grab corners, see how it moves, make sure it moves correctly. And for me, this is one of the most complicated sketches I'm gonna do. Like making this, whatever. That's complicated for me. You'll see videos where they do sketches and they have like 30 lines and all kinds of stuff. I don't do that. Once I hit 6 lines on a sketch, I want to stop. Because now it's getting too much stuff. You can always break stuff down into smaller steps. I like to do lots of small, easy things. Because easy things are easy, complex things are complex. So it's easier to do a lot of easy things than a few complex things. Okay?
This course, or throughout these courses, kind of
That's-
learn how to do that.
That's what I'm going to teach you. Teach you how to do it the easy way, the right way. Not the hard, fancy, I guess. I don't know. I did one workshop at a conference, and we did like a water pump housing, and we tried to draw the whole outline of the thing in one sketch. And it, like, back then SolidWorks at the bottom would tell you like how many degrees of freedom you had left, and it said like 195 just constraints or dimensions needed. Like, try and figure out how to do all that stuff. Like okay, we need to make all these arcs concentric and equal size and blah, blah, blah. When really you just draw that whole one arc and then start drawing in some other ones and extrude those as different steps. And it makes it easy. So, it's kind of, yeah, do lots of easy things because easy things are easy. I mean, it kind of makes sense, right? Complex things are complex by definition. I don't know, I'm lazy, I like easy things. That's why I'm here and I'm also cooking. Because I got the easy thing at home. I can just get home from here, have pulled pork. Alright, so that's kind of the interface here. And you see if I hit this, I can pull that out. One thing, whenever we extrude, so this is in the thing, and I'll talk about it more on Wednesday, we always want to make sure we do a new component. So don't just say okay and have it create a new body. We want to make a new component. Okay? That's kind of a big thing. So that way we can see that part right here. Because now we can click on that, right click on it, go to properties, and have it tell us information about that thing. So I can see its mass, if it's using, because it defaults to steel. Here's the mass, there's the volume of it, that's the density of steel. There's the surface area of it, the center mass, all that.
So it's kind of like layers in a way.
Kind of, it's this one thing.
Like, oh, okay.
That's this piece. So right now we're doing one piece. Not a big deal. Once you start doing more pieces, the components are your different pieces. So anyone used SketchUp before?
Yeah.
So it's exactly how components are in SketchUp, where you can reuse a component and you may change one and it changes all of them.
Yeah.
That's what this is. So that's your part here. Bodies is just a piece by itself, not in a component. Yeah, so we want to make components, because now I can reuse this. Because I can just copy and paste this. And if I go back and change this first one, again, we don't want it all blue, but you need to change both of them. So I have to draw one thing and just use it a bunch of times rather than drawing 50 things. Okay? So we want to make sure we make things as components. That's kind of the end of that. So any questions?
Nope.
I know that's a lot today, right?
Yeah.
Your head's like... So I think that's where we're going to lay it off today. If you want to stick around, make sure that you can get into Fusion before you leave here today. At the top up here, if you have a yellow subscribe button here, let me know, and so we can get you activated. Because remember, you'll need to sign up, you need to check your email, go into another page. It was on that list of stuff to do. So you have to do this. You go to this page. This is the stuff that you have to make sure you do. So you have to make sure you check your confirmation email. You have to confirm your eligibility. Sometimes if you use your student email, it'll do it automatically. Some people it chooses not. It has an issue. Uh-oh, trouble's here. This is Mr. McCullough, the CNC instructor, the one I've been talking about all day.
Are you talking about me?
Yeah.
He was my student. And
One
now he-
class.
Now he took the pebble from my hand. Unless you're old, you don't understand that concept. No.
I was a student for one class
One
while I was doing my master's.
You don't understand what the pebble from the hand is? Kung Fu. You can leave when you take the pebble from my hand.
He is the one that told me about becoming a teacher, though. But if you actually take summers off, it's kind of awesome.
Are you gonna have any time?
So, all right.
I was gonna get with you.
Okay, we'll talk. I'll get out here.
So make sure you do this confirm eligibility thing, and occasionally they might ask you to do something. Last time I had to do it with one person, and we just went and took a screenshot of their schedule, submitted that, and it was okay. But make sure you do this. So if you have that yellow subscribe button up there, you can go through, tell the student. Sometimes it'll clear it right away. Sometimes it takes a day or two. But we want to make sure that's done by next week. Okay, you don't want to leave that there and then in a month have your trial be over and then you can't turn in your stuff at the end of this class. Okay, so but we want to make sure you can get in today, and then by the end of next week we want to make sure that no one has the yellow trial subscribe button. Okay, any questions? All right, let me